What's going on YouTube? WestHobbiesRC. So we are back with the Goosky RS4 Part 3. So we're going to go ahead, get this thing wired up, get the flybarless unit mounted, get the radio set up, and get this thing ready to fly. So go ahead, subscribe, hit that like button, turn the notifications on, and let's get started. We know that the FBL unit has to go here. So we are going to mount it this way with the wires forward. So we know that. We're going to put our DSMX satellite here. So that's going to go this way, antenna forward. So we are going to start with the servos. Now, the servo layout on this helicopter. This is servo 1, servo 2, and servo 3. So the front servo is 1. The left servo, if you're looking from the back, is 2. And the third servo on the right is 3. So that's the way we plug it into our FBL unit. Channel 1, channel 2, channel 3. That is servo 1, servo 2, servo 3. Your tail servo, of course, is servo 4, channel 4. Your throttle line for the ESC, which is going to be your black, red, and white signal. These three, this one here is going to be BEC. And then your signal is RPM. So now the layout on the pins on the FBL unit. Top row is signal, middle row is power, bottom row is negative. So that's the way we're going to wire up the flybarless unit. And you guys already know I can't just zip tie wires up. So we're going to go ahead, figure out the best routing of these wires, cover them in heat shrink, cut them down, get rid of the excess, put new ends on them, and get this thing wired up. For servo rounding, my plan is going to be to run this wire through here, just like this, and bring it back and go down, tuck against the frame here, and then come up to channel 2 since this is servo 2. And then servo 1 is going to go down the same way and tucked in the frame and out here. And then the same for channel 3, servo 3. It'll get looped down in between here, come out here. So I'm going to cover these wires in heat shrink, figure out how long they have to be, cover them in heat shrink, and get the cyclic part done. And then the tail servo wire, we're going to do the same thing, cover it in heat shrink, but it's going to run in between the frame rail here and the block mount. And it's going to come right between this hole here and then up into the flybarless unit for channel 4 here. I have cut all 3 of our servo wires as well as the tail servo wire off, cut them to size, got them covered in heat shrink. I still have to heat shrink it down. I already went ahead and crimped on one new end. So now I'm going to crimp these 2 and the tail servo, get everything heat shrunk down, and then get the wires wrapped back and wait to plug the flybarless unit and secure it down until all the wires are ready. We got the wires heat shrunk down. We got all the servo ends crimped on there, and we got all the wires where we are about to plug them into the flybarless unit. So again, front is 1, left side is 2, right side is 3 for your servo. So that's the way it's going to go. And then tail servo is 4. And then for the ESC wire, I'm going to cover it in heat shrink. We're going to wrap it. Now there's these little holes in the frame here where you could put zip ties. I personally don't like zip ties, so I'm not going to use them. I'll use some double-sided tape on the wire, but I'm going to wrap it on the inside of the frame, come up through this hole right here, and then that'll go right into the flybarless unit for BEC and RPM. And then we'll take the little Bluetooth module, we'll plug it in and then mount it somewhere, just double-sided tape it on the side of the frame or something so it's nice and clean. And then again, our Spectrum DSMX satellite will be using a 9745, and that is going to go right here. Now, I do not know, for anybody asking, if on Spectrum you can use an SRXL2. I'm not sure. You might be able to under S-Bus, but I'm waiting to get confirmation. So for now, I'll just be using a 9745 DSMX satellite antenna out the front, and it is going to mount right here. And then we will wrap the wire along here as well to plug into the flybarless. We got our servos plugged in, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I just got done heat shrinking the ESC wire. It's run up some heat shrink along the frame, and it comes up right here. So now this will get plugged into the BEC side, and this will get plugged into the RPM side. So I'm going to heat that up so I can form it, wrap it around, and then we can double-side tape the flybarless unit down and mount the satellite here, and then make that wire satellite placed right here, antenna going forward. The canopy is fiberglass, so I don't have to worry about the carbon blocking signal. So now we are going to shorten our lead. We're going to come out of the satellite. We will follow these two servo leads here and come right up into our DSMX port. And then we are ready to start getting the battery on the tray, get the blades on, and start moving forward. Satellite is wired up. So we're running our satellite wire down in between this servo and the frame side here and through here and up into the DSMX port. So all the wiring is done. So this is what it looks like now. Came out pretty good, about as clean as that wiring is going to get, but I am happy with that. No wires ran on the outside, nice and clean. Of course, we had to cut and shorten all of our servo leads as well as satellite, because you guys know I don't like to bunch wires up. So now we're gonna plug in the Bluetooth module, which is gonna plug into this port right here, and we'll either stick it down here or over here somewhere. So we'll get this plugged in, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is getting the battery on the tray and getting the canopy grommets. Now that we're done with the wiring, it is time to move on to mounting the battery to the tray. Now this is very, very simple. Go ahead, clean your surfaces off with rubbing alcohol. So I already did that, clean this surface and this surface. So we're gonna take our included double-sided tape or Velcro, and we have an included battery strap. Now, the choice of which way you wanna add the Velcro is up to you. Personally, I put the soft side on the battery and the hard side on the tray. But again, that is complete, total user preference. So it is just as simple and easy as going ahead, lining it up, pushing it down. Again, clean the surface with rubbing alcohol first. Go ahead and peel your other piece of double-sided tape here. Now remember, on the battery tray itself, this is the front, this is the back. So we are going to put this on just like this, and we're going to line up the back of the battery with this little area right here. So we're just going to line this up and push it down. So now I like to just go back and forth, push it down real good. So now the battery slides in the helicopter this way, so your power lead will come right underneath, plug in. Now just take your Goosky strap, go ahead, wrap it around, pull it nice and tight, and get it lined up like it should be. It's gonna go into that little groove right there. And now your battery is secured, and your battery is now ready to go in the helicopter. Next thing on the list is the canopy. So your grommets are going to be double or taped inside the canopy. I have double-sided tape on my mind for some reason. So your grommets are going to be inside the canopy, just taped down. Very simple to install these grommets here. You're going to pop them out of the bag. You're going to take your grommet, get yourself, I like to use a 1.5 millimeter driver. You don't have to use that, but you're just going to push it into place here, kind of feed it into this little area. Use your finger, use your fingernail. That's where this little 1.5 millimeter driver comes in at. And you can just kind of slowly work it in. Be careful not to chip the canopy. And once you get that worked in there, get it all the way in there. And then I just like to kind of walk around it. So go ahead, do all of your canopy grommets. You're gonna have 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I do like that they put a magnet back here. So when you go to put the canopy on it, and it holds very well. So I like that. So go ahead, get all 4 of your canopy grommets installed. Get all 4 canopy grommets installed. Should look like this. So now we can set the canopy aside and grab the helicopter. So now we're going to install our tail blades. So now just remember on the tail blades, okay? They're a plastic composite, very stiff, very strong blade. And I do like how they flattened the tip of the, or the root of the blade out. So that way, when it slides in, there's no way that it can interfere with that bolt. So that's a very cool touch. I like that. Now, Goosky facing out. Like on the links, all of that, Goosky out. Leading edge is going to lead the blade. Trailing edge is going to trail the blade. So your tail rotor spins counterclockwise, so to the left. So you want your tail blades to be on the proper direction. So you want your tail blade leading edge, leading, trailing edge, trailing. The leading edge is always the rounder, fatter part of the blade. Trailing edge is always the razor sharp edge of the blade. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a 1.5 millimeter driver. We're gonna take our screw with our little beauty washer. we are going to install the blade with the leading edge facing the left. So it'll be rotating this way. We're going to come back with our lock nut. We're going to slide our lock nut on, and then we're going to come back with a 4mm wrench. You can use needle nose, you can use a little pair of pliers, whatever you would like. And just go ahead, spin this all the way down and tighten it up. Now for tightness, we want it to be not where it falls like this, but we want it to be tight enough that it doesn't fall on its own, but it does have a little resistance. So a little bit tighter on that tail blade here. So that right there is about good. And then we're going to do the exact same on this one. So now we got the other one tightened down. They're both about the same tightness. So they're snug, but they're not going to fall if you shake the helicopter. So now again, spins to the left, counterclockwise, leading edge leading, trailing edge trailing. Leading edge is leading, trailing edge is trailing. So now our tail blades are on. So now we can set our 90 degrees at the servo and our 2 to 4 degrees of right rudder at the tail. So we are going to take our servo and we're going to manually set the servo to where it's 90 degrees. So our servo now is straight up and down at 90 degrees. So now we're going to flip it over and we're going to look at our tail blades. Now that is way too much right rudder pitch. So what we're going to do is we are going to pop this link off right here with a pair of ball link pliers. And then we are going to adjust this linkage so we have the proper servo in the proper 2 degrees. So we're going to set about 2 degrees on this helicopter. So this needs to get longer. So we're going to turn this out 2 turns. And then we're going to pop this back on. But instead of popping it all the way on, you can just hold it. Check that that servo is 90 degrees, which it is, and take a look at it. So we want to go a little bit more. So I would say that's about good right there. So I'm looking at it from the top and I can move it just a little bit. Yep, I'm going to call that good there. So go ahead, pop it on. Now our servo is 90. We have about 2-3-ish degrees of right rudder. Now the reasoning of that for anybody wanting to know is a mechanical advantage. So that way you put right rudder pitch is going to mechanically advantage the torque of the rotor and help with the gyro gain. So I do it on all helicopters and you should do it too. You will get a much more consistent tail. So now our last step, the last thing we need to put on this before we do radio setup, which will be a separate video, is our main blade. Now it is time to put our main blades on, which they are a very nice carbon fiber painted white with the Goose Sky in them. Did a great job on these blades. So again, head spins clockwise. So leading edge is going to be leading. So we're going to start with the back blade just because that's what's right here. You're going to use a 2.5mm driver, your main blade bolt with your little beauty washer, and you are going to just slide that down into here. Take your lock nut, come from the bottom, the lock nut, go ahead, get that started, and then you're going to be using a 5.5mm wrench. So again, Amazon by Duratech, awesome little wrench set, and they will become very handy. So go ahead, get that wrench on the bottom and start turning that screw. And we're going to set the tight tension of the blade. Again, just like the tail blade, we don't want them loose, but we don't want them to flop around. So I like them, this right here is about perfect. So then you're gonna do the exact same thing on this other blade. Now both blades are on and tightened down. So that way when you grab the helicopter, I like to have them so that when you give it a shake, they don't really move, but they are still smooth. They're not really hard. So the build is completed on the Goosky RS4. So the build went together very nicely. The wiring is done. We got the Bluetooth module positioned right here. We got our tail blades on. Everything is very smooth and free. So it's got a very nice one-way. The belt is tensioned perfectly. One thing I wanted to touch on real quick is the battery on the tray. So putting it like this, like they call for in the manual, it will not fit inside of the helicopter. It's too wide and it just hits. it doesn't go in. You can see here, you can see I've already marked up. So I'm gonna pull the Velcro back off of this side and put the battery on its side. So when you go to put your battery in, put it on its side. Do not put it flat like they tell you in the manual. Now that we got the battery on this way, on its side, I wanted to show you putting the battery in and out without the canopy and with the canopy. So the battery is just going to slide right into this little tray here, to the metal battery tray. It just slides in real easy, pushes in and locks. Now pulling on it good, that battery's not going anywhere. And then to release the battery, you just simply pull on this tab and the battery slides right out. Very easy. So let's throw the canopy on and try. So for putting the canopy on, it's going to be very simple. Just go ahead, pull this apart, slide your canopy over. It's going to snap together in the back. Get it into position. Go ahead and clip the front first. So you want this front to go down, go over the grommets, each side, push them into place, then come back through with the back, push to the grommets, and the canopy is on. Just like that, it's snapped together in the rear. Canopy is very solid. Awesome looking canopy. And then now to put the battery in with the canopy on, it's gonna be the same thing. We're just gonna slide it right through here, line up that tab, push it into place, and you'll hear it click. Now the battery's in, and you're just going to simply plug it in just like this, right under here. Boom, pull your XT60 in. If you want to, you could run your battery lead through this little hole here. That way your wires are kind of nice and out of the way, but be careful because you can cut your wires. But that'll give you a cleaner put in, and that way you're not hanging out the front. And then to take your battery back out, you're gonna do the same thing. Go ahead, pull that little tab, slide the battery right out. Makes very simple and easy battery changes, and you don't need to pull the canopy off. There you guys go, the Goosky RS4 build series. So we're gonna do the FBL and radio setup in a separate video. So if you guys don't wanna watch the build series and you just wanna watch that video, you can. But this thing looks incredible. Now, a few things I want to go over on this model that I not per se didn't like, but some things I would like to see changed in the future kit. So if you're listening, Goosky, this is what I would like. I think it would make it a lot easier to build if you included the screws with each part. So put the screws for the main frame with the frame sides, I think, or put them in their own bags because you have to measure them and it could get a little confusing, especially for the first time person building. The tail servo. I would like to have seen it done a little bit differently. I think the tail servo out the side, it doesn't look bad, but I think it could have been tucked into the main frame over here. And the tail casing assembly. Having to build the slider is not a big deal, but I think it would have been better if it was already assembled, especially for somebody as this being their first time build on the kit. But all in all, I am very impressed. I think the price is right there. I think it's a great value for the money. Everything looks quality. The one last thing is the servo horns. I would like to see servo horns that are the proper size for the cyclic and for the tail servo. So that way you don't have to cut them down. You don't have to sand them. So in case somebody doesn't have the way to do that, I would like to see the proper size servo horns. But I am very impressed. I think it is going to be a fantastic model. I am super happy and excited, very excited to fly this thing. So I want to thank you guys for watching the build series. I want to thank you for smashing that like button, for subscribing. The videos have been doing great and I am very happy and impressed. So thank you guys. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe and turn the notification bells on, because you don't want to miss the radio setup and the maiden flight. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Take care and have a great day.